Hello, my name is Freax, and I am a top 15 Undertale speedrunner. I'm here with Dirty, who's going to be commentating my run. If you want to introduce yourself.
Well, I'm Dirty. I am a top 10 Undertale speedrunner. I personally have never ran early Punchcard, but Freax is very good at the game, and he will put on a good show today. I'm fully sure of it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so pretty much the premise of this run here is that we get the item, the punch card, early. The punch card is pretty much used to skip a bunch of stuff in this game, so like it's what makes this game a good speed game, pretty much. So time begins like the second we press continue, so yeah, let's just get into it.
So the main thing about this run is we have the punch card, which you'd normally get in Waterfall. You'll already see it getting used here, as we use a glitch called Persistence in order to skip this encounter with Flowey here. Basically, if we leave the room whilst the game is... If we leave the room whilst the encounter starts, we get a glitch known as Persistence, because Flowey essentially... The flag to end that cutscene is just leave the fight, and we leave the fight by leaving the room, which isn't normally meant to happen. There is a lot going on really early, so gonna have to talk really fast, but you'll see Freax using the punch card to do what is known as a wrong warp. Basically, Freax is teleporting really far into various rooms. So whenever you open the punch card, the game advances one frame, which means that if you open the punch card, you can move 1 pixel, for example. And in that one frame, a lot can happen. If you start a cutscene and then close the punch card, you can regain your movement back, because the game, in order to give you your movement, doesn't actually check anything to do with the cutscene. It checks a specific flag. And the punch card is hard-coded to give you your movement back when it's closed. So by activating a cutscene with the punch card open, we then close it, and then we're just good to go. And if we do that into a room transition, that then allows us to regain movement in the room transition, and it puts us at the default spawn point, which can be used all over the run to save small bits of time. You'll see Freax is less than 2 minutes in and already talking to Napstablook. Normally we'd be approaching the 3-minute mark here, but Freax has managed to pull off all those wrong warps really well. This game is essentially a lot... So... That is, unfortunately...
It's fine.
So we took this safety save, but basically when you fight Napstablook, you have to cheer him 3 times. However, Freax accidentally... So Freax accidentally checked on the final attack, and what that then means is Napstablook gets very upset, and that loses, I believe, 2 to 3 minutes. So it is actually just straight up faster for us to restart the run and just go. That is an unfortunate mistake, happens sometimes, because we want to menu as fast as possible to go as fast as possible. You'll see Freax open the punch card in this room. That just skips a call from Toriel. But yeah, again, we see Freax using the punch card into room transitions to wrong warp. Now, technically, all of these are pixel perfect, so you need to be on the exact pixel or the pixel right before a room transition. So in order to do it without stopping, it is a frame perfect, Undertale being a 30 frames per second game. So again, Freax is back in Napstablook. We'll probably take things a little bit... Nope, not taking things more carefully.
It will be fine.
Yeah, it'll be fine. So that is a very, very uncommon mistake, realistically. It's just one of those things where sometimes the way Undertale handles inputs, you cannot actually press certain buttons on the same frame, otherwise they are just voided. Yeah, there is a lot of stuff that is happening all at once that's really hard to explain all in one go, but it comes up again in the run. So a lot of glitches you'll see here use what's known as a punch card slide. So again, we can use that one frame in between you opening the punch card and the punch card locking your movement to move 1 pixel. And by doing that, we can actually perform certain cutscene skips. So you'll see there, Freax did what was called an overflow. By opening the punch card and then pressing either enter or Z, sorry, on the on the next frame.
I lagged.
Okay, it's okay. It's okay.
Sorry, I'm joking. My bad.
So, okay, there is so much happening right now. So, I will explain what just happened and went wrong. So, whenever you open the punch card into a room transition, that is how you wrong whop. However, there is one small catch. Basically, whenever you do a wrong whop, you have to close the punch card before the room transition ends. And if you don't, you'll see that Freax reset. It's probably hard to see why. That's because once Freax did that, he couldn't move. He cannot move. There is no way to recover it. You are completely soft-locked. Your movement is completely locked. There is nothing you can do. Here, this is the overflow. By opening the punch card and then pressing either Z or enter on the next frame, you can actually, in that one frame before the punch card truly opens, interact with the text and gain text storage. So you can move around with the text, which can be abused for many different things and acts as a sort of pseudo punch card of sorts, which is actually significantly easier to use because you just need to close it in the room transition, which is fundamentally a really wide window.
That's fine. I just walk back.
So,
wrong whop.
That's fine. So Freax actually missed this wrong whop because you actually need to let go of directions whenever you wrong whop. Otherwise, you just spawn in at the beginning of the room. But that's actually a really good illustration of how normally it'd put you at the bottom of the room, but Freax wrong whops all the way up to the save point. So this can be implemented across the entire run pretty much. Most room transitions, especially in early punch card, most room transitions have this. In a normal Undertale run, this section's actually pretty dead. It's usually just an RNG check, but with the punch card, we are able to do so many different glitches. So here, Freax is going to be doing another glitch, which allows him to retain movement after tutorial by doing the punch card slide onto that cutscene trigger. Freax then opens the punch card, which means that when this fight ends, Freax will have the punch card open and can close it to keep movement. So, in this fight, there is a lot of RNG actually. Basically, every single time you see that Toriel just gave a hand, there is roughly a 40% chance for Toriel to give you a hand. And each hand is actually the fastest attack that you can get, because when you get hit by the hand, it ends the attack early. So actually, right here, Freax just got a 6-hand, which is one of the better case scenarios. This is very good RNG for just your average neutral run at top level. This would, in a lot of cases, be fine to continue. So, and as you can see, once we're down to low HP enough, Toriel just stops attacking us. Like, there's not too much to talk about there. But yeah, so we just spare Toriel over and over again to get through the fight as fast as possible. So, now, since Freax had the punch card open before entering the fight, you'll see once Freax leaves this fight... God, sorry. I'm stumbling over my words because there's so much going on so fast. Because Freax is doing a good job despite some of the prior mistakes. So, you see, now Freax can just walk. Because the punch card was open, we use it to regain the movement, and we do those two wrong whops, which both save vast amounts of time skipping cutscenes and a really long corridor. And now we are into Snowden. Yep. Snowden, we're going to see a lot more of the same. Everything that I've explained in Ruins is essentially the groundwork for everything we will use in the run. So here, Freax does the overflow, which I explained earlier. Misses the overflow wrong warp, but that's okay. And Freax is going to punch card wrong warp. The reason Freax went back to it is because that wrong warp is really big. And then here we see Freax punch card sliding, which is where you move with the punch card open in order to skip that cutscene there. I don't think we've seen a PCE yet.
We haven't.
Except for with overflows.
Have not, no.
So anyway, now we get a bit of time to breathe. I'm gonna take this moment to take a quick breath and let Freax maybe get a word in.
Okay, so like Snowden's the first kind of area of the game where we will be seeing quite a lot of PCEs, which stands for punch card exploits. They are used to like skip cutscenes and so on and so forth. So again, just a really big part of the run. Here we're going to be overflowing this sign to get moving back during this cutscene and skip the doggo fight. And now here we do have another glitch coming up. You can do this without the punch card here, using the cell phone in a glitch that was recently discovered called SLS. But here what we want to do is we want to walk back a bit, and then PCE slide into the cutscene trigger, and now we can walk straight past the Papyrus.
So that skip is what's called Electric Maze Skip, and it was actually discovered recently that you could do that without the punch card, but with the punch card it's significantly easier. Freax is gonna overflow this to gain movement during that in order to skip the cutscene there. Now, here we have the dog marriage fight. We're gonna overflow this switch, and that way, as you can see, we can move with the text, and we can actually use the text used to open this gate in order to skip the dog marriage fight. And as you can see, walking down. A punch card exploit, PCE, is functionally the same as what Freax is doing with the text boxes here. So basically, again, whenever you close a text box, the punch card, it's hard-coded to give you your movement back. So if you have text that you're not supposed to have open in any given cutscene or the punch card, that actually just straight up allows you to gain your movement back and just move through it. This cutscene actually has an invisible wall, so we cannot PC through it. And it is important that we say that we don't understand it, because Papyrus's cutscene, where he scrambles the tile puzzle, actually takes a really long time. So it is just straight up faster for us to not do that. Now here, Freax is going to do a version of the puzzle known as Snowgrave. By walking down at the beginning of the room, you are able to set your subpixels so that when Freax is on the bottom pixel of this tile, he can hold down right and skip that bridge forming animation. Here we have the Greater Dog fight, which, as I'm sure you've gathered by now, we're not going to do. Here in the Undertale speedrunning community, we hate this game, so we try to skip everything we possibly can. So, again, this cutscene we actually can't skip, because basically there is just an invisible wall that you cannot bypass. Now, technically, you can do a glitch that allows you to corrupt the text, but it's not really that useful and is arguably quite slow if you don't do it really quickly. So here, Freax is going to run up into Snowden Town to save a metric load of time, and we're entering the Papyrus fight. This is actually one of the more dull sections of the run, unfortunately, as speedrunners have a really hard time with Papyrus, because Papyrus is so difficult that we just died to Papyrus over and over again.
Yep.
And so you will see Freax just unable to dodge the attacks. Freax is going to throw the stick so that Papyrus doesn't use the special attack, because that's even more scary, or just check, because sparing engages the special attack. And as you can see, Freax just cannot dodge these attacks. Papyrus is just far too strong for our capabilities.
So we die.
Now, what is actually happening here is, essentially, the Papyrus fight is a really damn long fight. So, it is in our interests, because Papyrus doesn't actually kill us and send us back. If we do this loop 3 times, so we die to Papyrus 3 times, Papyrus just gives us the option to walk away. He's like, you don't want to fight me, do you? And then we go, no, we don't want to fight you, and so we actually just leave. So it is just going to be, Freax is going to repetitively take damage and die to Papyrus.
Fun.
Although, for some reason, Freax woke up and chose violence today. Hitting Papyrus is actually slower, because sparing, there's no animation for it or anything. The fighting just loses a few seconds, and for some reason, Freax has decided that Papyrus deserves to get it.
Yeah, I'm just really tired of Papyrus and his shenanigans, because how many times is he gonna like beat me up before he just lets me leave, you know? So I'm getting.
So we're gonna go back. We're gonna die to Papyrus one more time. Well, quote-unquote die. And then we're good to move on to Waterfall, where
Scary.
normally this item that rips the game wide open, the punch card, we normally wouldn't have it at this point. What we are running here is a category extension. And it is actually one of the most fun category extensions. So, Freax almost just had a bit of a critical blunder there. Basically, if you use the punch card in any fight, it will rip it. And if we rip the punch card, we can't use it. Probably goes without saying. Yeah, so now we're at the end of the Papyrus fight. And despite the earlier shenanigans, for a neutral run, in a normal neutral run, this pace is actually more than reasonable. Like, even with the new discoveries and top-level runs, this actually is perfectly reasonable pace. So here, Papyrus is going to give us the option between yes and no. The choice actually has a buffer period where you cannot skip the text, which actually makes it quite safe to mash. As you can see, Freax has now passed the Papyrus fight.
There we go.
So now we are entering Waterfall. We are out of the woods of Snowdon, and beyond this point, there isn't really anything. There's no real. We're basically approaching the point where the run becomes basically just the second half of a regular neutral run.
I don't know why I did that. I keep forgetting like the run up into this room isn't good, like long at all.
Yeah. So here we perform Seagrass skip. So in that room, it used to be that you would do Seagrass skip, where you skip the second half of Undyne's cutscene. In normal neutral, there was a glitch recently discovered known as Seagrass skip using a tech known as SLS, in which you skip the first part of the cutscene to skip Seagrass skip. However, if you have the punch card, you can skip Seagrass skip, thus we land on Seagrass skip. And then we just kind of breeze on past. So here, a lot of this is relatively trivial. We're not going to be fighting anything until Hotland, because it's just basically kind of disadvantageous to us. Yeah, so again, Freax is using the punch card exploit mechanism, except this is with text, and that allows us to skip through cutscenes like Freax just did so amazingly there. Freax just did what is known as a zero buffer, which is where you frame perfectly open the menu on the correct pixel of the cutscene trigger, so that you don't need to waste any time buffering. This is actually how time is often gained at the top level, as oftentimes you're already doing all the skips you need to do. So just doing everything that little bit faster, those half a second time saves really stack up. And it is what separates players like myself and Freax from the likes of, for example, TetraSpit, who is the current world record holder No, Sam's the world record holder in neutral.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
a recent development.
I still that's so weird to say that Tetris doesn't hold a record for once.
Yeah. Anyway. Here, we actually don't have access to our menu, so we couldn't skip this first part of the cutscene, but we can skip the next one.
It's fine. It's not
Freax didn't. That's okay.
It's not that long. It's like a couple of seconds.
Yeah. And here, we are coming up on the part where we actually would get the punch card. So normally, what Freax would do is go up into that little, like, crevice up there and go get the punch card. However, we get to just breeze straight on past and start playing neutral as it was originally intended by Toby Fox, which is glitches everywhere, but only past Waterfall. So anyway, coming up here, we have a glitch known as Onion Sand PCE. So this is the best example of a PCE that I can give. Freax is going to open the punch card until he activates the cutscene trigger. Freax took 4 buffers there, which is fine. But by skipping it, you can see we don't have to watch Onion Sand rise out of the water and talk to us. We get to just keep on breezing through. That was an example of a punch card slide, where if you do the slide into an encounter, you can regain movement during that small window and just gain small bits of time. We only tend to do those on places where the encounters are scripted, however, because in this game, there is quite a bit of RNG in where you get encounters. It doesn't massively impact this run because we don't really need them. They're just something that will always happen, and we just kind of have to deal with. So again, here we're just doing a bunch of like PCEs and wrong warps, and then soon up we will be coming upon one of the more challenging sections of the run.
I went for the Mickey.
And I cannot. By the way, I saw that.
Yeah, I went for the Mickey.
So to explain to people who aren't in this community, anything that is considered to be rather silly is referred to as Mickey, as in Mickey Mouse. So there are plenty of strats that, if you're sane, you don't go for it, because they're joke strats and save virtually nothing and have potential downside.
Oh, dude, I was like a one. Okay, I was off.
Yeah.
That's fine.
So here, this is Spears 2 PC, and Freax missed it. This is going to cost him about 10 seconds as opposed to if he had hit it. But this is one of those skips where if you miss it in an actual run, it's kind of an inconvenience more than anything. One thing you will notice is that Freax is holding into the walls. This actually manips where the spears are going. So the spears try to anticipate where Frisk will move. So if Freax is holding down left here, they will try to spawn down left of Freax. So you can manip that by holding against the wall in a direction that you're not going to be going. So Freax will hold it on the down right here or on the upright in order to manip them in a direction, and then he'll go in the opposite direction. So he can just like hold down right and then go up. And this actually prevents any unpassable sets of spears most of the time. There is small chances, but oh well.
Moving on.
Fun fact here, standing at the top of this room saves a frame over standing anywhere else. I can't remember why, I just know it's true because someone told me and I believe them. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, this is probably the most, like, I don't want to say the most, but it's definitely like one of the harder tricks in the run. We have MDS coming up. It stands for Mad Dummy Skip. This is where like a lot of runs usually end. I'm gonna let you explain it now because I have to perform it.
Yeah. So Freax will have to focus up here because Mad Dummy Skip is one of the more difficult tricks in the game. It's not exactly more precise than anything, however the cues for it are few and far between. So essentially, we cannot get past Mad Dummy here because there is an invisible wall at the top. So we have to use a glitch known as persistence, which we used back at the beginning of the run. So what Freax is going to try to do is leave the room on the exact same frame that the Mad Dummy fight starts. And it looks like he got it there, I think.
That looks fine.
Now what Freax is going to do is die as fast as possible. And the reason this works is because... the Mad Dummy fight doesn't actually check if you've won, it just checks if you leave the fight. And because of the persistence, I don't fully understand why. The Tassers know more about this than any of the runners do. But if timed right, it allows us to skip the fight. There we go. And we have now skipped the Mad Dummy fight. We can just keep on walking, go on our merry way, and we have skipped Mad Dummy. And this skip saves about 1.5 minutes. We've just had Doggo come into the chat to explain...
Oh, it's fine.
It's fine. We've had Doggo come into the chat to explain why being at the top of the room saves time. Doggo is a Tasser of the game. Saves time because when the spears go below Frisk, it takes a shorter time when Frisk is higher in the room. Again, he said it, so I trust it. As I said before.
Doggo would never lie. Never.
I am not a Tasser of this game, I am a runner. I do what the Tassers say is fast. So yeah, so now we're going to go through the rest of Undertale. Most of Undertale being the section after the Spears 2 fight, till we get into lab, hence why it's called Enter Lab, is it's basically the beginning of and the end of it are kind of crazy, but everything in between's relatively run-of-the-mill. Here, Freax is going to go for Flower Flow. I believe he's going to attempt one punch.
No, that's fine.
So he missed it. So basically, by overflowing the flower, we're able to retain movement here, and then basically start the cutscene further along to the left and regain movement sooner. So, because Freax, this is actually one of the smallest skips in the game. It only saves about 5 seconds if memory serves. So it really is not that influential. It just means that now the wrong one after this is actually a really big one. So normally we would get tech storage, but we don't get to preempt we don't get to preempt tech storage during the cutscene. Here we have Monster Kid PCE, which saves about 25 seconds. Again, relatively trivial. Freax getting the wrong warp out of the room, which is blind. And now we have one dying. The, in my opinion, hardest skip in the game. So all of that just unfolded really fast because Freax did it well. So it is actually impossible to skip Undyne, but we can get through Undyne in only one phase. So what we do is we PCE the first cutscene trigger. Once that happens, we are on the clock and we need to get to the second cutscene trigger as fast as possible. We then PCE the second cutscene trigger, which then activates the second cutscene as well as the first cutscene. Then we need to do what's called a Punchcard advance, where we open the Punchcard on a text box, which I'm not sure why, but allows you to wrong warp with certain text that you normally can't. So once we do that, we mash it away, and then once Undyne's text disappears, we walk up left into the room transition to wrong warp. And then we stop at the right spot so that we can then only do this in one cycle. And Freax stops in the correct place, so you will see we will get out of the room without another Undyne encounter.
There we go.
There we go. And you saw Freax was challenging because it just speeds up the attacks a bit. Like, speedruns aren't really concerned about dying to Undyne because we've done the fight so many dang times. And that is Enter Lab. Now we reach Hotland, which is the most technical and precise section in the game. So Freax here doing an overflow to do lab skip. And then basically we're just going to try to go for a bunch of wrong warps. And you'll notice that Freax got down to 6 HP, which will be relevant very soon. We're going to kill this Vulcan to get to level 4 for Asgore. Sorry, I forgot that we didn't get the Tough Glove. I'm so used to seeing the Tough Glove.
I forgot to.
But it's fine. So Freax actually can't take any safety saves during this section because he's going for a specific 2 strats, one of which is called Beowulf, one of which is called Sirius. We will see that soon. However, here we get the Burnt Pan with Pan Launch. And basically we are just able to kind of fly around with loads of joy and whimsy. And here, what we are going to do now is we are going to open the Punchcard in the orange laser and take damage. This gives us this text storage. And now, with this text, once Freax advances it to the next set of text boxes, we don't want to close those. So once we have done that, now keep this in the back of your mind for in about a minute and a half's time. Over here, we're basically just progressing through everything. Freax is doing an excellent job of going through the game here. Now, this is Jetpack Skip. It actually requires us to do the PCA again. As you can see, Freax got the text storage, then opened the Punchcard again, because basically, Freax doesn't have his menu here. He cannot open his menu even if he wanted to, because these cutscenes are coded to take away your menu, and the only time you get given it back is when the cutscene ends. So we need to backtrack to the beginning of Hotland to the water cooler room, the last place we saw Undyne, or the room just before it, because this room is actually hard-coded to give you your menu back. I found that out from Ender yesterday. So now we have the menu back, and we can progress more through Hotland. As you can see, we gain movement during the elevator just to speed it up and not have to wait for that kind of cutscene to play out. So here, we're cruising through floor 2, or otherwise known as left floor 3, because speedrunners name things on where it ends for some reason. Oh yeah, warning headphones users. So here, Freax is going to be PCing the vents. The vents are a cutscene like anything else. Nothing different about that. And coming up is a glitch known as Serious Skip. So here we hit Royal Guard's PCE. And the reason we got down to 1 HP and got that text earlier is because in this room, it gives us this text here, which we can actually use as a visual cue for new skip. Otherwise, it is completely in the dark. Basically, that is the text that should have played when we first got hit by the lasers. So now we are able to just progress again. We have to backtrack once again in order to get our menu back, because the punch card overall saves, if memory serves, 15 minutes over glitchless total. I'm pretty sure.
That is about right. I'm pretty sure Neutral Glitchless Nobody Genocide's record is it's a 114, I believe.
Yeah. Oh no, so in this route it saves about 25 minutes. In terms of just the fastest glitchless route, it saves about 14-15 minutes.
Did I safety save?
Huh?
Do you remember if I safety saved?
I don't remember.
It's okay.
So here, Freax is going to do a glitch known as North-South. This is actually very, very difficult skip, because you actually need to close the punch card frame perfectly in order to clip out of bounds. Normally, you'd have to solve the 2 puzzles at the top and the bottom, but Freax is able to clip out of bounds and interact with the door from this side. This is Spider Flow. We can just use this to take a safety save. It actually breaks even to glitchless if done well, so it's actually a very good safety strat to have in your arsenal. Here we have Muffet PCE. This is the one PCE where you actually get multiple tries. Freax missed the first one, however, if you know the backup pixel, you can then PCE that second one. And we can actually use the text to wrong warp. Isn't that nice? And now we have Opera Skip. This is, for some reason, this specific PCE is the most terrifying.
No, I agree with that.
At least I found. Because it gatekeeps you from getting to core. So coming up is the core. We have to actually go up here before getting our menu back, because this cutscene here tells the game, sets the flag in the game to say, okay, they've unlocked this floor. If we were to just go straight back, we'd actually have to go right back to the beginning of left floor 3. Which, as you can imagine, we don't want. So we have to do this kind of awkward bit of just meandering around, getting everything we need to unlocked, and then we got to go back and get our menu. Core is by far the most technical section of the game with the most glitches, and is the one where the biggest time swing without major mistakes can occur. You will see that Freax will be wrong warping all over the place, PCEs everywhere. I won't be able to go over all of them, because there will be so many. So these again, it's just going to be a lot of wrong warping throughout Core. Core is actually one of the biggest separators between the different echelons of runners. Maybe not time-wise, but the different barriers are really difficult to break. So, Freax here, that is Magic PCE. Normally you'd fight Magic here. However, we say, I don't want to do that, so we skip it. Basically, with the punch card, almost everything in this game is optional, which is why we actually have categories for glitchless. But also, the punch card, that's the reason early punch card exists, is because it's actually quite fun to play with the punch card at the beginning, because it actually makes the beginning of the run far more interesting, in my opinion. So you see here, Freax is, again, just skipping all of these cutscenes. That's the Lasers 2 PCE. And then we actually need to go up to the puzzle on the left, because it is the fastest way to unlock the end of the core. And now, normally, I'm sure you probably expect Freax to go to the right, but what Freax is going to do is do a chain of wrong warps known as Snowy Core. So if you wrong warp fast enough, it's actually faster to backtrack all the way to the beginning of the core because you've unlocked this elevator. It can save up to 12 seconds over glitchless, and Freax just pulled that off pretty much flawlessly, hitting Metaton PCE and pretty much clearing core. There is nothing really that can say lose you loads of time in core anymore. And this was overall actually a really good core. So here, again, we've got more cutscene skips and just general maneuvering, but that was a phenomenal core. Now we're kind of approaching, this is the last major glitched segment of the run in New Home. So we have to kind of do all these encounters, stuff like that. It is actually faster to go left first in glitchless, but because of a specific skip that is possible in New Home, known as Magalore, we can actually skip one of these encounters, which saves about 10 seconds. So you see Freax is overflowing the key, and we'll use that to gain movement out of it and enter that room. So we just skipped one of those New Home encounters because as speedrunners, we don't give a damn about the dang story of the game. So yeah, these cutscenes are a little bit of a moment to breathe. However, that moment won't last too long. So you see Freax overflow wrong warping. We need to get those keys in order to go down. And now we are in basement. Freax is going for a chain that is... It wasn't always known as this, but it is now just forever called Mickey Gauntlet. So, essentially, by doing the punch card slide to regain movement during these, like, soul flashes, you can then,
There we go.
There we go. Okay, so you can actually regain movement during the soul flashes and get text storage. With that text storage, on the next encounter, you can gain movement back in the soul flash and then get text storage again. It is essentially a snowball of time save. If you drop the chain anywhere, you can't save the full amount of time. If done to its fullest effect, it can save about 2 seconds RTA. However, it is a rather relentless chain that is, if you don't get it going early, it's straight up just not worth it to go for, and it's in the next room, because the next room is a really long corridor, and you'll see Freax will at least try. It's a very, very difficult chain, so we will see if he gets it. Alright, so we missed the first one, that's okay. If you don't get it by about the third encounter, it's very barely worth it to go for. However, let's just see if Freax gets this. It's okay.
The third visual cue is a lot easier for me, so if we don't get it after this, then I think we drop it.
Yeah. So this is a strat that kind of became more popular recently. Unfortunately, Freax didn't get it. However, in more recent times, this was always seen as a bit of a joke strat. You go for it on a run that's on the verge of death to try to maybe bring it back. However, in recent times, as the game has been pushed further and further, it's actually become meta to go for this at a much lower level than previously was done. Because it's one of the last tricks. It's actually relatively high risk because you ideally want to menu down to sell, and you essentially get this just chain of PCE text storage, and it is a really intense thing to go for this deep into the run. However, once you get it going, it's usually relatively easy to maintain. However, getting it going is the hard part. However, if you're not going for it, this is your kind of moment to breathe and get ready for the battle that is coming. Because coming up, we have, after a few more glitches, we have the single biggest skill check of the run, that being Asgore, but we'll get to that when we get to that. First of all, we have one more major PCE in the Sans PCE. Sans, at the end of the run, judges you based on how good of a person you have been throughout the run. And we don't have time for any of that. So we are going to PCE straight past him because we don't care what he thinks. And now we have an infamous combo of wrong whoops called the Rombu combo. Basically, these wrong whoops skip all of Asgore's cutscenes. Freax just did it basically flawlessly, by the way. And that saves a lot of time by getting those wrong warps together. And now we come to the, realistically, what is the final... This, realistically, is the final skill check of the run. Because yes, there is a Mega Flowey, but at a top level, that's not scary. Freax equipped the Burnt Pan specifically for this fight. So, the Burnt Pan has 4 bars, and the Burnt Pan has a unique quality in that if you hit all 4 bars perfectly, you deal double damage. And that's partially why we increased our love. That is 4 frame perfects in a row. And if you manage to hit 9 quads in a row or 36 frame perfects, you get what is known as a TAS score. However, each turn you drop, and after the first turn you drop, so here, TAS score is no longer possible. 10 turn is still possible. However, every other quad from now that Freax misses will drop 10 seconds. So Freax has already lost about 8 seconds to perfect, which is why this is the most brutal skill check of the run. Top runners average about 10 to 11 turns, which is basically necessary because every single turn that you drop loses you 10 seconds. So far Freax is still on 10 turn pace as we have missed twice. However, you got to think about with all the nerves of the run, you've been through the entire run, this last standoff with Asgore, where you have to be perfect, otherwise everything falls apart. So Freax currently best possible pace is an 11 turn, which is still very, very good, and loses about 20 seconds to perfect. Now, with Asgore, realistically, once you get to a certain level, Asgore is no longer scary as a fight, with runners consistently no-hitting and basically never dying. In fact, Asgore is so easy, it's been done blindfolded by me. But
dude, you made me laugh.
So, yeah, Freax is still on. If Freax hits this next quad, that will be an 11 turn. And there we go. Freax got an 11 turn. So overall, that was a very good Asgore. Unfortunately, Asgore is just a brutal, brutal fight. This text here has a weird quality that you can actually... We never talked about piano mashing, did we? Because there was so much happening.
We didn't.
Basically, whenever you've seen text go by this entire run, Freax has been doing what's known as piano mashing. So basically, in Undertale, the X and Shift keys skip text, the Enter and Z keys advance it. If you press Enter, Shift, Z, X in sequence, that is the optimal way to mash. And if you want to do that as fast as you can, whilst also keeping it precise. And the max you can get is 15 text boxes per second. You'll see here, Freax is going to reload the game because the game will crash, and we have to reopen the game. Now, you want to reopen the game as early as possible. This is kind of the last skill check element of the run, but Flowey overall is a really trivial fight, generally speaking. It usually takes runners about 11 minutes and a few seconds on average. At top runners, just under 11 minutes. But there is one thing that you do need to know, and that is that on the 4th phase, with the purple soul, there is a divide within the community where the community has split up into factions with left versus right gang. The act button will come from either the left or the right, and it is a pure coin toss. You do not know in advance, and there is no way to predict it. So basically, either you go to the left or you go to the right. Now, you see, if you think about it, left is correct. Like, left is faster because it's always on the left. And that is proven in my personal best, and Tetrasbit's personal best. Also, I think Sam's as well. Freax, I can't remember which side you sit on.
I sit in the middle. I'm a fence sitter.
Yeah, so every now and again we get someone who comes into the community and is lame and a fence sitter.
Wow.
So, realistically, being in the middle is the best because it doesn't really lose any time. However, if you choose to go left or right and you are correct, you save about a second. Now... Yeah. But yeah, so technically, if it's the right side, if you weigh up both scenarios, right side is 2 frames faster if it's on the right and you guess right than if it's on the left and you guess left, because you can interact with the act button sooner after it popping out. So make sure you make your choice, and we'll see who's correct and who chose right.
You know what? Like whatever directions commented the most in chat, I'll go for that. How about that?
Make sure to make your vote, then I'll keep
How are we
chat.
feeling with a cheaper little vote?
Well, I mean, we'll see what we can do.
We have a long while till we get there, so there's a lot of time.
So we have quite. So here in this phase, whichever the direction the knives go, we know that the act button is going to be on that side. So the knives went left, and so we know it's going to be on the left. Most of them are in completely deterministic, like quite a few of them are in completely deterministic spots. You don't want to miss an act button. That will be very, very costly. However, if I'm not mistaken, this looks like it's, what would you say, like 52-53 pace?
I'd say so.
Yeah. So, unfortunately, we did have those mishaps in the beginning, which almost essentially Freax kind of, with those mishaps at the beginning, unfortunately, that does kind of nullify the time save of early Punchcard. However, Undertale is a speedrun where mistakes are ridiculously punishing. So if you miss, for example, let's say we missed the Metaton PCE, we didn't safety save, our literal fastest option is to die. It loses 2 minutes. Most of the big PCEs, if you miss them, it is just a hard reset. Like, there is not much else you can do because mistakes are really punishing. And with soft locks, well, they're soft locks, so wherever you save last is your best bet. Which, in top level runs, you don't really safety save, because if you make a big mistake, you're going to reset.
Yep.
I need a moment to rest my voice. You thought.
That's fine, okay. So, I'm pretty sure you can notice right now I am intentionally getting hit here and holding up upright. That is because there is a chance that axe button can jump over you here, and obviously if that happens, you waste a whole turn, and that's a lot of time loss. You can't actually die in these little soul minigame phases. No idea why. No idea if it's intentional or not. But yeah, no, you just can't die. So we don't care about getting hit or getting to extremely low HP. So that's a fun little fact.
So now, coming up in just a moment, is the phase where that I was talking about, where the act button will come from the left or the right. Now, because I'm in the commentator's booth, I'm gonna say he should go left, because it will be on the left. Because that's how coin tosses work. They work in my favor. However, unfortunately, Freax is a fence sitter. See? Left gang!
Yay!
See? You should always trust me, because I'm always right on 50-50s. Always. Now, to my knowledge, there hasn't been an instance of someone losing their personal best to that. I do not believe.
I doubt it.
Now, the rest of this fight, there aren't really any time saves or time losses until finale. Actually, no, there is one right before finale. So as you saw before, Freax reloaded. We're actually going to, in this fight, abuse reloads 1, 2, 3 more times. That is right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, the cutscenes in this fight, so these healing cutscenes, once we get past the next phase, you will have this really wholesome moment where all the souls unite to give you healing. We don't care, because if you reload the game once that cutscene starts, you can just skip it and go straight to finale. And as speedrunners, we hate the game and the story, so we just want to get right through to the end. The whole point of speedrunning is to play the game for as little time as possible, by paradoxically spending as much time as possible doing it. So in this phase, once the 8th round of bullets shoot, we know that the act button is going to come out on that 8th round, and by going into the bottom left, we actually manipulate the area in which the act button can appear, and you'll see Freax will here reload the game. And we get to skip that entire cutscene with all the heals and yada yada. And now we get into finale, where we have one more small time save to worry about. So in this area, normally it would take 37 attacks to kill a Mega Flowey. However, if you delay attacks 13, 25, and 36, you can kill a Mega Flowey one turn earlier, saving 2 seconds. Now, there is a flat 2% chance, I believe, that it doesn't work no matter what you do. But there is also a 1 in 200 chance that you don't need to delay the last attack. And there is a strat known as Heat Death, where I believe you can just skip a turn entirely extra, but the odds of it are so low that, like, if everyone did runs for the rest of time, it would never happen. So that's why it's known as 1 in Heat Death. The Freax will be deliberately delaying certain attacks. And this section of the fight overall is pretty trivial because as your health gets lower, the Mega Flowey deals less and less damage, but also the heals just kind of keep you afloat. You want to dodge a bit, but there we go, we've just gotten some feedback in chat. The odds of the Heat Death Flowey is something like 1 in 10 to the power of 42, which, if you're not too good at math, is a really, really big number. Freax delays this next attack. Mega Flowey is dead, and that is quick kill. Now we've just got a little bit more of the run to go, where we basically have to just be dealing with Flowey yapping and talking way too much.
I am back on the mic, hello. I had to be real quick.
And essentially, Freax has done overall a very good job in this run of showcasing what this game has to offer with all of its glitches, and Freax really pulling it out of the bag when it mattered towards the late game, where it is that more intense section. So here, you'll see Freax is just sat inside of the friendliness pellets, because once a Mega Flowey does the, like, attack where it's like, nobody else is going to get to see you die, the friendliness pellets are meant to move out and then circle back in. But the second you touch them, the cutscene ends. And so Freax sits on it so that it instantly ends.
Yep.
Now, this text here is unskippable completely. It's completely auto-scrolling. This is looking like, I believe, 52 4x pace. So, essentially, Freax is going to do a reload here to skip a small cutscene. There are just a bunch of small cutscenes that we can skip by reloading at very specific points to just save small bits of time at the end of the run to get to the end as fast as possible. So once the fade out completely to white happens, we get to reload the game and open up Flowey. And then we kill Flowey because, you know, he's evil and we don't have time to listen to him talking. And then we end the run with a 52-41. Well done, Freax.
Thank you. That is, I thought that was about to, like, tie with my actual PB in neutral. I think.
Yeah. Overall, a very strong run. Unfortunately, a bit of a stumbly start, but after that, you were just running, mate. You did so well after that.
Thank you. I think, without the 8-minute ruins, this could have been underestimate with a 49. But it's fine. These things happen. I'm just glad that the rest of the run was played out.
Yeah.
Pretty good to my liking. Didn't miss too much. We missed quite a few things that didn't really matter too much, but we hit quite a lot of things that did matter. So yeah, I'm happy with how this run turned out. Do you have any words you want to say, Diddy?
I have a few. So the main thing I want to say is I want to give massive props to Freax. Freax has basically exploded onto the scene as of late. Like a few months ago, I'd never heard of the guy, and then all of a sudden he went from like no one to like a top level contender, threatening to take me out of the top 10 actually. And out of nowhere, he has really improved tons as of late and has been putting in a lot of work to get better at the game. I also want to give a shout out to everyone who, like the rest of the community, because especially as of late, people have been pushing the meta forward, optimizing everything, pulling things together, and cheering each other on, really.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Um,
And I want to thank A Link to the Cure for having us on to showcase this amazing run.
Speaking of which, um, I would like to thank obviously Link to the Cure for, like letting me run this. It's been a lot of fun, and it's something I have been looking forward to. I want to thank, I want to thank my girlfriend for like all the support she's given me and stuff with like all of this. Want to thank everyone in chat who's like supporting me right now, and I want to thank Flam specifically for actually getting me into this community if he's watching this VOD. Um, but yeah, I had a lot of fun, and hopefully if there's one next year or later on the year, I'll hopefully be summoning to that too. So yeah, thank you everyone for watching my run. Yeah, see you guys.